AI is going to be used increasingly. But I think the blue-collar workers, who I think are fantastic people, they care more about their country often than a lot of these white-collar workers who are more interested in enriching themselves on the back of Britain. They're parasites, basically. I mean, the accountants are the same.
The British economy is being choked to death by a parasitic class of lawyers, HR managers, and compliant officers and managers. They extended the basic tax law to an impossible 22,000 pages document. That's a Frank Herbert's Dune, 600 pages. Can you imagine 22,000 pages? What does it look like? So yeah, they did not do this to raise money. They did it to force you into a compliance trap where you constantly need to pay specialists just to survive. Let's have a look what Rupert Lowe has to say. Let's play the tape.
And you know, like I was at the Public Accounts Committee yesterday talking to HMRC, and I said to them, you know, you've got our tax manual, our basic tax manual is 22,000 pages long. And I won't tell you how many. I mean, I think there's 80 pamphlets with 80,000 pages is the total sort of tax law. But the actual basic tax code is 22,000 pages. Hong Kong, 500. So I said to them, half the problem is you don't know your own rules because there are so many of them. So how can the people you tax work out what the rules are if you don't know what they are?
He put it very well. Hong Kong, a thriving country, part of the China, I believe it is. They have 500 basic tax code. We, UK, Empire, used to be Empire, 22,000 pages. How somebody who just created a business not long ago, how can he know what tax code is? If it's 22,000 basic, make it make sense. I don't think the HMRC knows themselves. Let's watch another one.
But I think it's complicated by design.
I agree. The
whole machine is.
It's a case of you move the cups around and you go, which cup is the dice under? And I don't think a lot of people know, and even big companies, we were actually talking about big company tax yesterday, because most of the tax is paid by the big companies. But even they, you know, there's clearly disagreement and areas where they've made mistakes, but there's also a big area where there's a lot of debate about what's right and what's wrong. Now,
but they can also
that wastes a lot of people's time, energy, money, because again, the lawyers get rich. They always. But
they can also afford massive lawyer teams, whereas the small man, the individual, it's much harder for them. The big companies are all right. They've got a whole HR department.
You're absolutely right, and I think, you know, that is and I said I opened with a quote which you know, very famous American administrator said, you know, the power to tax is also the power to destroy.
So the thing is, all of them, advisors, lawyers, accountants, they charge you extortionate amount of money because you do not understand the 22,000 basic tax code book. While massive companies can afford them to pay them charges, small companies do not. This is why small businesses are going bust every couple of years. Fix the system, and I think AI will. Let's watch another one.
Rupert, I've been dialing back what I do in business because there's no point.
Of course, everybody has.
I've had a year of lawyers, accountants, HR, and administration. I don't get to run my business anymore.
But do you know what? The only thing it's
all got to go.
Really excites me is that I think AI is going to wipe them all out, which I'm absolutely delighted about.
I have had first-hand experience on how difficult it is to run a business, and had to pay a fine because my accounts were wrong. So there you go. Yeah, let's watch another one, guys.
Yes,
because a lot of what they do, as we know, is it's a prescriptive rule book which can all be loaded onto AI. And I'm already talking to people who are using AI to cut the number of staff they've got. And with all the new employment legislation, which basically means people don't want to employ people, sadly, which is a pity, AI is going to be used increasingly. But I think the blue-collar workers, who I think are fantastic people, they care more about their country often than a lot of these white-collar workers who are more interested in enriching themselves on the back of Britain. They're parasites, basically. I mean, the accountants are the same. So accountants lawyers, all of these administrators, all of these people who are, they're functionaries, they're not wealth creators.
Amen. I mean, they're just profiting from somebody who does not understand 22,000 book rule, and they just charging extortionate amount of money, and all they do is simply move papers about, and they feed directly off the productive workers. They are like ticks, like leeches. Let's watch another one.
And I think the British people can see that. So I think the blue-collar workers actually are okay, because it's very difficult for AI to replace what somebody actually physically does. It's much easier for AI to replace a rule book, or because it can all be loaded onto the computer, and actually the computer's better at it than they are. So I'm excited about that, and I think they are going to be, their power is probably again at its maximum. As I called them, they are parasites. They feed off the host animal. And unfortunately, the host animal is it's dying, And the reason the economy doesn't look weak is because government now accounts for over 50% of GDP. And if you pump money into government, which is what's been happening, it's hardly surprising that GDP goes up a bit.
But what is the cost of that?
What about the private sector, Peter? It's dying.
It's dying. It's
dying.
It is not good out there. And I speak to a lot of people who've lost their jobs, or their businesses are struggling, or other people who can't be bothered, people are looking to move abroad. I don't think people realize how desperate state it is for the private sector at the moment.
So new employment legislation makes small businesses absolutely terrified to hire people, because it's become very difficult to get rid of them. The rules create a 2-year backlog, which only enriches the lawyers. Anyway, you cannot run a functional nation when wealth creators are taxed to death. An army of paper pushers holds the structural power. They made the system impossible to navigate, so you are always trapped in compliance debts. And as Rupert said, the host, the country, is already dying from all the ticks. That needs sorting. I'll see you in the next one. They're not creating any wealth. They're not creating any. They feed directly. The rules create a 2-year.